Hey guys, let's start with a very interesting pro-revenge Reddit story from Reddit admin Dumb87. Call me a race traitor in a PM on Reddit. Let's destroy your life. A few years ago, on a different Reddit account, I mentioned that I was in an interracial relationship. A Redditors reached out to me and told me I was a race traitor and unfaithful to my race. I was like, WTF, bro. I looked at his account. It was 6 years old, which told me his username was likely something he used a lot. So I started Googling his username @Gmail, username @Yahoo, etc., and I found a match with Hotmail. A guy by the name of, let's say, Jeff was selling some NFL game tickets and had posted his email. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's the same person. However, in the post, he mentioned a city in America and that he was a fan of a particular football team. I went through the Reddit user post history. He posted quite a bit in the respective city subreddits. He mentioned going to NFL games. And in another post, he also said he was born in Canada. So through the ad for the NFL ticket, I figured out his real name. I found his biography on his employer's website. He was a senior-level manager, so they had a bio for him. In that bio, they mentioned he was born in Canada, was a fan of said NFL team, and loved living in the city. I also found his LinkedIn page during this time. So I sent him a connect request on LinkedIn, which he accepted. I figured he would because he had 500+ connections. So here's what we know. His username matches his email handle. He likes the NFL team. He lives in a said city that he posts in said city's subreddits. He was born in Canada. I then found his Facebook page. His Facebook page was public, and he posted what I would describe as semi-racist material. Also, his Reddit page was significantly more racist. Based on the numerous connecting factors I determined, so I create a report. I included screenshots and links and summarized my findings in that report. Now, based on this person's position in his company, he likely had a significant role in deciding who this company employs. Also, his company clearly stated they were an equal opportunity employer. So I called their HR department, I found the number, and I called them, and I asked them, would you be concerned if a senior-level manager in your organization was a proud racist and degraded your equal opportunity employment policies? They were concerned. So I told them I had done an investigation into one of their senior-level managers and described he was racist, and I had put together all my evidence and findings in a report and could email it over to them. I emailed them the report. A few weeks later, I called to get an update, and I was told they appreciated my report. However, they would have to comment on the status of their decision and make public statements in regard. Basically, thanks for letting us know, but we aren't going to tell you. That's fine. So I waited another month and I kept checking his LinkedIn page. Then one day, I saw a LinkedIn post from him in which he said he is looking for a new opportunity and if anyone had any positions open. So I messaged him on Reddit and I told him, hey, bro, heard you got fired. Just want you to know I'm the reason why. He threatened to find out who I was, hunt me down, my spouse, and strangle me to death. So I reported him to Reddit admins who promptly banned him. Now he really should have learned his lesson because guess what? He didn't connect the dots. He didn't know I could see all his LinkedIn activity. He didn't know who I was. He simply acted in rage. So I put his newest message in his folder and added it the report because you see I can be an incredibly vindictive mother. I checked his LinkedIn once a week. Good news is he got another job. Bad news, their HR department was also quite easy to get a hold of and discuss their new hire's online racist, threatening behavior. However, let's just say I had a lovely conversation with this HR representative. She was a woman, and based on how she sounded and her name, I suspect she was a woman of color. So yes, I'm not sure what happened after this because a few weeks later his internet history was cleaned up and his LinkedIn page was deleted. However, this company listed their senior management, which was what his position was. I never saw his name listed. What I suspect happened is after his HR reviewed my evidence, they terminated his employment with them. I would have totally gone after him a third time, but he got smart the second time around. TLDR guy called me a race traitor. I got him fired from not one, but 2 jobs. Hey BTW Jeff, if you see this post, I'd love for you to send me a new message. I really enjoyed the little game I played with you. I also question, how did you handle getting fired from 2 jobs back-to-back on your resume and in future job interviews? The revenge was satisfying. After being called a race traitor, OP traced the user's identity and reported his racist behavior to 2 employers, leading to his firings. Despite his threats, OP outsmarted him, watching as he lost jobs and ultimately erased his online presence. Justice served! Let's now jump on to the next story. Director said process contracts faster and don't fuss over details. Okay, you'll lose bonus. Initially had this story in r/malicious compliance, but came across this subreddit through comments. I work with a federal contractor responsible to buy or bundle hardware, software, etc. any government organization needs and review the contract in terms of financial viability and legal clauses. In other words, ensure we make money and we are legally covered. The contracts range from $5K to $40 million. Last year, our company went through a reorganization, i.e. fire people, and give more work to people still left with the company while paying us peanuts. We are a small company with less than 200 employees and trying to retain our government customers, while big companies like Amazon Cloud will replace us in less than 10 years. The government customers love working with us because this is the only thing we do and treat the customers better than big contractors who don't care. They laid off 30 people from my team of 50. So now 20 people do the work for 50 people at the same salary. We are paid by the month and not work hours, and we don't get sales bonuses. Important in the story. I have a habit of reviewing everything carefully and spending hours on each contract, even one that just makes us a few $1,000s. Government vendor selection process is slow, and they are very risk-averse, so a lot of customers start at a few $1,000s and end up in an 8 or 9-figure contract if everything goes well. Since people were laid off, I was struggling with the work volume, and as a result, contracts were piling up. The sales director, i.e. different team, did not like me as I was slow and also catching any tricks the sales team tried to play by over-promising the customer or something shady. Government clients' customers loved working with me, the support I provided, and was truthful regarding our capability and our drawbacks. This was something else the director hated me for since he thought I am tanking sales. However, almost all my clients were repeating customers for over a decade. Example. Sales wanted a school district to buy outdated Dell Windows laptops while entire state was moving towards new, cheaper Chromebooks. Schools don't have budget, and whatever they buy stays for 5+ years. Sales were offloading expensive, useless stuff to get better bonuses and also charge customer nearly $1 million to provide IT support for faults arising from ancient hardware. During my conversation with the school district, I shared examples of state governments in the Northeast buying Chromebooks and saving money while future-proofing the hardware. My job was to get best quote to customer and develop trust to sign a 5 or 10-year contract. So, this school district bought Chromebooks which were 40% cheaper and had less than 20% of the previously quoted IT support cost. As a result, sales team lost a few $1,000s in bonus, but we brought this customer with us for a 5-year contract. The sales director got pissed as I was working on small contracts at a slow pace and reprimanded me in front of our manager. The manager did not care and did not defend me and asked, "Why don't you follow what the sales director says and stop fussing over small contracts?" I said small contracts turn into big ones, hence I should pay attention to them as well. Mistakes in small contracts could harm us if the contract becomes big. I am struggling at work because you gave me the job of 3 or 4 people. At this point, he was shouting at me that I don't understand contracts. He has been doing this stuff for 5 years, and he makes more money in a month than I do in a year, so I should listen to him and not question him. This was a bit insulting as I live in a shared apartment, and am struggling to make ends meet while he drives an expensive luxury car and just goes out on fancy lunches with government employees. I asked the sales director to send an email with a list of suggestions to improve my work. He rudely complied and said, "Can you not even remember what I just said in the meeting?" His email said, "Do not review contracts less than 100K and trust sales team that due diligence has been done." I replied by copying my manager in the email that this could create liability in the future and want him to confirm again that the sales team will do financial and legal compliance themselves for the small contracts And I need to stop revising small government contracts below 100K, with no exceptions unless told otherwise. This was gold. Cue malicious compliance. Instead of 2 hours, I spent 10 minutes on small contracts, and voila, backlog cleared, and I am home by 6:30 p.m. Now, a contract worth 10K comes through. I found some issues with this contract since it said that we offer 30% rebates to our software providers. This was something we stopped doing 5 years ago, and now we just offer software providers a 5 to 10% rebate on contracts. Also, I knew the government client recently got a massive budget and was on a spending spree, part of my job. There is a high chance that this 10K customer will become a $100 million, and the 30% rebate means we have to give $30 million on top of the usual cost. But I remembered what the sales director said. Why don't you follow what the sales director says and stop fussing over small contracts? So 10 minutes later, I email, "No issues detected based on compliance check by the sales team." As I mentioned, government contracts are slow. No one cared raised the 30% rebate issue since it was just a 10K customer. 10 months later, the state government customer said they want to work with us and get at least the same terms or better terms for a new $50 million contract. This was the largest contract in our company's history. The sales director happily gave him a handshake deal that we will offer the same or better terms. Government can legally just buy more on their current contracts, so the sales director had no issues promising the same terms. Given contract size, everyone from legal, IT, and finance gets involved to work on just one contract. For 3 months, everyone worked on one contract. The sales team was giddy that they will get million-dollar bonuses. I don't get a sales bonus to ensure I protect customers and the company. The finance team finishes their review and said the company is going to lose $8 million and not make any money. Everyone is shocked. The sales director gave a deal without checking with us, and we cannot go back on something we offer. Changing contract terms is frowned upon by the government, and they have legal contracts stating nothing will change. We are legally obligated to offer the government the same terms for 3 years. The legal team says we need to take a hit on our balance sheet and swallow the losses. The CEO called a big meeting in a fancy conference room with big TV screens, and everyone had to find a scapegoat to take the blame. Every department lead, managers, and people involved in this contract were summoned. The sales leader had to explain to his team why they won't get bonuses on this big contract they spent over 3 months. Finally, legal and finance meet and share their findings. We lost money due to the 30% rebate clause. The sales director goes crazy and blamed me in front of everyone and asked me to pack my stuff in front of 30 people. Follows by saying I am terrible at my job despite 100% customer satisfaction. I calmly opened my laptop and connected the display cable and opened Outlook while displaying his email on 3 big TV screens, stating that I should stop reviewing small contracts. While all 30 people read the email with a faint smile, I await the sales director's reaction. He goes into rage mode, claiming I misunderstood his email and am terrible at my job. Then I scroll down where he ignored my warning regarding potential liability to the company, and his response explicitly asked me to ignore that. His face turned white when he realized he f***ed up. He then blabbered, trying to find some other scapegoat, making racist tirades against our IT consultants in Vietnam, and just lost it. Aftermath: I was told to spend 2 to 3 hours on each contract, and the company eventually figured out that it is cheaper for them to hire 20 people like me and pay us $70K every year than to take big losses on their contracts. Our team has 40 members now, still less than 50, but enough to offset the contract volume. Because of the losses, sales director had to pay back his previous year's bonus, as he had a clawback clause with the company, i.e., if you screw up, you need to pay us. The sales director had to pay nearly $300K and was fired from his job. Present day. He then sued our company for wrongful termination, and we just heard today that he lost the case and now owes us another $200K legal fee. Now he owes over $500,000 to our company. TLDR, company fired people and the sales director abuses me when I cannot do the job of 3 people. He ignored my warning that mistakes in small contracts could cause millions in losses to the company. He ended up causing the company millions in losses and gets fired from his job, tried to sue the company, and now owes over $500,000 to our company. End of TLDR Update 1. A lot of people may ask, why am I still doing this job which pays less than state wages, and I might be able to make more in other companies? I help government customers buy good stuff from many hardware and software companies, so they don't overpay or rely on one big company. I feel proud when I can save tax dollars and help customers. During COVID, a lot of state governments went remote, i.e. local meetings on Zoom and keeping the government running while working from home. There was a budget freeze due to COVID, the economy shutting down, and since COVID, relief bill was months away. This was a time when the sales team had helpless government customers willing to sign anything just to get remote hardware and software. I saw this as extortion, and despite being an introvert who lacks initiative to get promoted, I was able to convince the CEO to offer free 60-day trials of expensive hardware and just charge setup and transportation fees. This was a big risk, but we brought an insurance company to offset any damages. I convinced the CEO that this is the time for us to show we are partners with the government, and it was an emergency. The sales team was mad for a month, then realized that all those free customers were calling us for paid contracts over companies that are 10x our size, that would usually win contracts by lobbying or taking government decision-makers to expensive lunch or something like Super Bowl tickets. I legally cannot disclose the exact government entity by name, but can vaguely say that some entities in the state government of New York and the state government of Florida were both using this trial program during the first wave of COVID. I might change jobs soon since we got a 3% salary hike in the current market while the company has nearly doubled its revenue in a few years. Update 2. I just remembered another story that made sales leaders hate me even more. This is during the COVID wave when we all were working from home and I was getting used to Zoom. We had a telecom contract with a state government during COVID and everyone joined a Zoom call to discuss the contract. The sales team was increasing this customer's telecom bills from $60K a month to $300K a month. I objected that increased calls during COVID are not high enough to justify such a big price hike, and we should increase the bill to $100K a month. This was enough to cover the cost and even improve profit margin %. But the sales team started laughing and saying, if the customer can pay more and is ready to pay more, why am I being so vocal? Leadership asked me to shut my mouth and proceeded with a $300K contract. So I started working on other stuff and minimized the Zoom app. I don't end Zoom calls myself, as the meeting admin ends it. Everyone said, bye. Nice meeting you all. And I naively assumed the call ended. I vented my frustration by saying these salespeople are like wolves when the country is going through times. A coworker sent a chat message a few minutes later that everyone heard what I just said. No one complained or confronted me, but this offended them. Also wanted to add, all sales team members are not like this. Almost all the new sales reps are eager to learn from everyone and not pushing stuff but talking to customers. However, new sales reps mostly handle small or low priority contracts. Any big contract gets automatically transferred to sales leadership. Here are some top comments on the post. The first one is from Chris Morgan. I appreciate your professional pride. Society depends on people like you doing the right thing even when the incentives aren't there. Keep it up and you can live with a clean conscience and know you have helped people you have never met. I appreciate that the sales function is necessary, but most orgs build in incentive structures that are corrosive to doing the right thing and often end up rewarding luck and deception. Racor replies to Chris Morgan, sales function isn't the problem, it's the pay structure for sales. 80% of salesmen's income are bonus, and your promotion also depend on how big your numbers are. Of course, it encourages getting sales by all means, and, of course, those who use questionable means will land bigger numbers than those who don't. Then when promotion time comes, those with bigger numbers, of course, would get promoted over others. And now, the assholes who use questionable means become bosses. Don't need an expert to see what kind of culture those people would encourage when they are bosses. The next comment is from Cup-O-Farts. I'm proud of you, man. As an architect, I work with schools on a regular basis, and I know any money wasted on us just takes away from the kids, so I really try to work with them and go above and beyond where I can. It always works out for the best, because they keep coming back to me for new work, and this keeps my bosses happy. I'm glad people like you exist. Keep being you, man. Also, the revenge was awesome. Thanks for the story. Another comment is from Sailor Chalk. Thank you for speaking up for the customers. I once worked for a company as a customer service rep. We were the ones taking calls from people after they got lied to by the sales team. I wish we could have transferred or they could speak directly to whoever their salesperson was. If that team had to deal with the stress of getting yelled at because of their lies, I would have felt better about how much better treated they were. We got paid less and had to take shit from the customers when they realized they'd been screwed over. And if they were bothered by being referred to as wolves who were taking advantage of people at a difficult time, they should have stopped behaving that way. Go ahead and get your commission, but understand you're a shitty person if this is how you make your money. The last comment for this video is from EatMyShorts231214. Are you a woman? Woman asking. OP replies to EatMeShorts231214. No, but can confirm a lot of women face similar issues. I am younger than sales leaders, so they don't listen to me. Most sales managers and leaders are in their 40s or 50s with enough money and smugness to repel anyone new. Sales business unit is not even my department, nor are they my manager, but they are held at a higher stature since they bring the bucks. Some old men interrupt women a lot. I started noticing this after a coworker mentioned it to me. The lead manager for our IT people in Vietnam is a woman. These sales guys abuse her a lot. Once I made a mistake, and she pointed out my mistake while saying she was sorry. I just hopped on a Zoom call to fix my mistake and asked her why is she apologizing. She did her job and thanked her for helping me. I was just displaying basic human decency. This much normal behavior was kind enough for her that she started crying. She shared that salespeople with zero tech knowledge discredit her because she is a woman. The revenge was satisfying. OP followed sales director's advice to stop reviewing small contracts and details. As a result, the company lost $8 million when a seemingly minor contract turned into a major liability. The sales manager tried to put blame on OP, but OP showed the authorities his boss's email in which he asks him to ignore minor contracts. As a result, sales manager lost his job. Man, this was really satisfying.